If you're an athlete looking to get stronger, faster, and more explosive, this full body power day that I am going to walk you through is for you. So the first thing I like to do is go through a little bit of foam rolling, a little bit of stretching. This is right after one of my games, so not right after, but the Monday starting of a new week, and I got banged up a little bit. So I'm just making sure that I'm getting through any little sticking points, knots that are going on, or any tender spots to help open my body up and make sure that I'm feeling good. And that's the main thing that I want to address, is that foam rolling works for some people. Research is out whether it has any long-term effects, but if you're trying to get prepared to be as explosive and power as possible, you got to do whatever you got to do to make yourself feel better. And for me, foam rolling starts to help with that. Now, what you're seeing here is one of my hip flow videos, which I will put a link in the description to that video. Honestly, if you're someone who needs to work on their mobility, their hips are a little bit stiff, and they want a simple, effective routine that you can do, I would recommend doing this. Any rugby athlete, any athlete that I have go on that does this consistently for 2-3 days in a row, they immediately start to notice results. Their hips are feeling better, they're less stiff, they're more mobile. So I highly recommend that. It will take a little bit of time for you to learn the sequence, but once you learn the sequence, you're going to be in and out in about 5 to 7 minutes, and you're going to be feeling great and ready to go before you get into your actual training. I will say for my older athletes, this definitely is helpful, as you know, it takes a little bit longer to get moving and getting feeling like your 20-year-old self again. So this will definitely help with that. And as you can see through all these movements, we're taking a lot of time really focusing on the hips and the lower body and the low back to be able to move, rotate, and perform an exercise efficiently. And you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing here, but you can use this as a template to start to help yourself formulate your own sort of flow and mobility plan to help you get to where you want to go. Now, after I get done with the mobility flow, then typically I'm going to go into something to get the body actually warmed and ready to go. I prefer jump ropes, as it's going to allow us to get a lot of extensive base plyometrics to work on the ankle complex and to develop some tendons without putting too much impact on our body. After that, I work through and I start to get into this banded warm-up for my upper body with various pulls and different orientations to hit the scapula and get the total shoulder and back nice and warm, where I go through and do band pull aparts, some diagonal pull aparts, and then I go overhead. Here you can see my chest is pretty tight here, so I'm really making sure that I'm getting as deep as I can. I like the band too because you have to maintain tension with the posterior delt, so you're getting a little bit of strength stability work there as you're working through all of this. Now, main power movement. Okay, we're going to be getting into some power complexes. So what I'm doing here is just a warm up with some RDLs. Then I'm taking it into some clean pulls and then some clean high pulls just to start to warm up. I don't like going straight into any sort of super explosive movement before I get the body warm. So that's why you see me going through these different movements and then even taking it into a very light power clean from blocks. Now, the main power stuff we're going to get into is a power complex where we are doing some power cleans from blocks into banded kettlebell swings. Now, the banded kettlebell swings are great. You do have to have a thick enough band to be able to pull the kettlebell down faster than gravity. And then we're taking it into our plyometric movement. So we're really trying to focus on the horizontal plane here in the posterior chain. Now, if you're someone who doesn't have super great technique with cleans, you can opt for this variation, which is a clean pull. Okay. Now I switched grips to one over and one under. If you saw before, it's because my grip was a limiting factor and I'm being much more explosive this way now that I have taken the under and overhand grip, which just makes it easier to grab the bar overall. But we're really focusing on that aggressive pull through. So you saw the angle of the clean pull there. Now you're seeing the angle from the side of the banded kettlebell swing, which you're seeing the same horizontal and hips come through. And then we can take it into a broad jump, or we can do some pogos into a broad jump. Now, that's our main lower body. Now we're gonna have a transition power movement, and I really like these landmine squat depresses because now we're hitting the quads a little bit and we're transferring force up through the body. You're gonna get a little bit of core engagement too as you press this overhead. Now we're moving into our upper body power movements. These are called oscillation bench presses. Really, the main focus of this is to get your body to learn how to turn on and off very, very quickly in a deep position to work on something called a stretch shorten cycle. So typically with these, anywhere from 30-40% of your 1 rep max. But if this is a new movement, you may need to go lighter and focus on the speed and the technique of this prior to then going into it. Now we're pairing this in a contrast type set with some plyometric push-ups. There is another variation if you can't do the oscillating bench press, which is a typical contrast training set, so heavy ass bench, and then you can do your oscillation push-ups here in an elevated fashion to get that turn off, turn on, stretch shorten cycle work that I had talked about before with the oscillation bench presses. Real simple. After we get done with that, then we're going into a couple of sets of heavy sled pushes. Now we don't want the weight so heavy that it turns into a slow push, but we do want to challenge the body. After that, now we're going to just work on our back. You can do any row or single arm row variation. I like the cable variations, and today again I was a little banged up, so I didn't want to do a bent over row because I was going to put a little extra stress on the low back. And then we're going to finish off with some face pulls to overhead press. This is really great for working the upper back and some shoulder stability. And if you want to just purely work on this back delts, don't even worry about that. Okay, this is a power day. Hope you like it. Comment below what you want to see next.